start because Richard Stallman took our show. So. Okay, let's go.
Okay. Hello, can you hear me? Yeah, okay. My name is Slawomir Jasek, and here is my colleague Jakub Kauny. We are both pen testers from Securing from Poland. That's sorry. That's from yesterday's dinner with our with our celebrity woman in AppSec. Well, she didn't authorize this picture, but I still count on the promise that she will cheerlead our presentation. So we provided her with the tools to that. So please encourage her. So. Besides partying, we do security assessments of various software components and software applications, networks, systems, and so on. Among them, many proprietary solutions. That's obviously often in real world situations. That's okay. Obviously, apparently, we are not in our best condition today after yesterday's party. So feel free to help us to find and spot some vulnerabilities in systems we will show you. Okay.
Okay, I'll show you our agenda for today. What the hell? Okay, so our agenda for today is showing you some real-world case study proprietary network protocols from industrial proprietary systems where they use binary protocols, binary network protocols. So here you've got the list. We've got home automation, pool printing solutions, remote desktop, and the biggest one, Forex trading software. And these are the real vulnerabilities we found during our assessments. And apart from showing the practical part, we'd like also to talk something about the theory of testing proprietary network protocols, and we'd like to show you our approach to testing proprietary network protocols. So we will show you the cheat sheet, and we'll tell you how to hack it. So proprietary network protocols. Let's get some interaction. How many of you are pen testers? Any? 1, 2, 3, okay, 4? Great. So have you encountered a proprietary network or binary network protocol during your tests? Or only web apps? Anyone? So, okay. Great, so that's quite good. So if you didn't, you will, because proprietary network protocols are very common. And there is a problem with testing proprietary network protocols, as you don't got tools. You cannot use some local proxy for HTTP or something like that. You've got like a raw data on the cable, and you have to think what is it and analyze it. So what are the ways to test proprietary network protocols? You can decompile the client if you've got, for example, a FIC client in Java or something like that. You can decompile it and then analyze what the software does, and then write your own client, for example. You can search for some tools. There are some tools that help testing proprietary network protocols. For example, SCAPI for intercepting the traffic and so on. But what we do mostly, and what worked in our cases, was actually watching the raw packets on the cable, analyzing them just with like our minds, and writing actually on clients or replay scripts for these protocols, only tampering some data. So let's try to do this. The first example is Slavek's.
Okay, so for a teaser, our first example, it's quite simple. There's a protocol to remotely control your home automation system. You get a small device, appliance from the vendor. You connect it to the home automation network, and on the other end to the local network. You configure your router for port forwarding to direct access from the internet to this appliance. Yeah, that's strange. But that's how it works. And there's a proprietary network protocol which connects directly to this appliance. And the connections is secured by the password. So let's have a look at a few packets, how it looks. That's what the client sends. And that's the answer of the server. Well, then the client sends something like that, and server sends, again, something similar. Can you think of something particularly interesting there? Do you have any idea how to attack this protocol? Any ideas? Yeah?
My rough idea is that I see lots of duplication of the response. My rough idea is that since I see so much duplication in the response, that there might be some encryption using padding. So maybe a very short encryption key for a longer message. That's my rough guess.
The truth is much simpler because, in fact, we could use in our testing environment, we could change some things, and for example, change the password. We can configure it and look how the packets behave. For example, this is how it looks with first password. This is how it looks with the second password, and with the third password. Well, obviously, you can see where the password is. So, of course, it's some kind of obfuscation. So it turned out that, in fact, the client sends just internal command, which is directly transferred to the home automation network, and it's followed by MD5 of the first bytes of the password. And then the server responds in a clear text with the status of this whole appliance, I mean, sensors, settings, and so on. So obviously, this is vulnerable, of course, for sniffing, because we can see the internal status of this appliance. We can do man in the middle, of course. We can connect directly to the appliance. We don't need to know the clear text password because it's just enough to know the hash. So the recommendation was SSL to encrypt the traffic, and vendor added this SSL support. It took a while because they had to deploy it on all of these appliances at the clients. They did. In fact, it turned out that they did something like that. So I guess you all see what's the problem. Yes, exactly. They created antitrust manager, which accepted all the certificates. Well, it's a very common problem in Android applications because the client was an Android application. But of course, that didn't help to remove all the problems with that. We can still do man in the middle. So they have to patch it at this moment right now. An interesting thing was a side effect because their business model was to provide an expensive appliance and, of course, free applications on the Google Play Store and iOS. So it turned out that after decompiling this protocol, I could just use these 5 bytes and send it to the internal home automation network, cut off the password because it's not necessary for me. So I can simulate this appliance with this single line of code. And of course, I had to alter it a little bit for the SSL support and create a self-signed certificate. And it runs perfectly well on my Raspberry Pi. So that's some kind of interesting case. So that's it for this first guys. Please, Julie.
Okay.
Oh, you have a mic.
Okay, and now let's switch to pool printing. So I've been recently doing big research on pool printing solutions. First, I'll try to explain you what is a pool printing solution. Like in normal situation, you would print files directly to the printer. But in big offices, in banks, in financial corporations, you use pool printing solution, which works like that. The user sends the file to the server. It's held in a print queue. Then he walks to the printer, because there are many printers in the building. He authenticates there, for example, with a card swipe or just by typing the password. Then the printer sends some request to the server to collect the print job from the print queue. It's released by the server. The files go this way. And maybe later there is some communication to send information about charging for this action. So we've been testing this pool printing solution in one of the banks, and we found so many vulnerabilities in there that we thought maybe we can just buy a printer and hack more vendors, because there are many vendors who produce this pool printing solution, and it worked. Why pool printing solutions are so interesting? Because, well, first of all, they're widely used. They're used in banks, as I said, in financial institutions, big corporations, because they all handle a lot of confidential data. And the data is this is the target for our attacks. And it's getting very, very popular. For example, in Poland, the financial government institution, which publishes some references for banks, recommended to banks that all the files in the bank, all the printed files, should be encrypted on the way between the server and the printer. So now banks are deploying pool printing solutions. So yeah, let's get to some interaction. So what would you say? Let's make a quick threat modeling on pool printing solution. What would you say? What is the Q risk for a pool printing solution? Anybody? Yeah, just shout it.
This is not so much on getting the files, but we managed at the university hack the queues. So you could actually we wish somebody happy birthday by hacking their queue with all the file names.
Yeah, good one.
They just clogged up their queue. They had like 50 different items. Because the actual queues were unsecure.
Okay.
Anyone could write to somebody else's queue.
Good.
The obvious issue in the bank would be for someone printing the document that's not meant for them.
Yeah, exactly. So yeah, getting to the print queue of director, let's say, and print some contracts or payrolls. Anybody else? Okay, so we're talking about, first of all, sniffing the documents on the line between the server and the printer, getting to the other print queues, tampering the accountability. So for example, printing for free, for example, at the university, and getting users' data, printing history, and some more users' data. So the attack vectors for these solutions are man-in-the-middle attack on the line between the server and the printer, and we'll also access to the other print queues there. We'll try authorization bypass near the printer and stealing users' data on the server interfaces. And if there are any, for example, web interfaces, we'll try to find some vulnerabilities there. So I would like to show you first binary protocol, because mostly the pool printing solutions are deployed as embedded software installed to a printer. These are like big printers, 50 kilo. We bought like a 50 or 60 kilo Lexmark X654DE, and they've got everything, hard disks, USB port, Ethernet ports, and so on, and embedded system, and the possibility to install embedded software there. So the first case study was pool printing, which is mainly used on universities. And they write on their website that with its root in education and the full understanding that college kids like to hack, their development process continually focuses on security. And we'll try to challenge that. That sounds like a challenge for me. If I see something like that, I'll just take out my laptop. And they also say that secure print release can integrate card swipe authentication at devices, and it ensures that the jobs are only printed when the collecting user is present. And yeah, we love to see the vendor claims and to verify those claims. So the first binary protocol was encrypted, but for this case, I'll just take out the encryption level and show you what were the packets. So first, the server sent some hello message. The printer responded with the username. The server sent a token. The printer responded with a hash of this password plus token. The server verifies if the password is okay, then the printer sends the actual communicate to release the print queue, or for example, I copied 100 pages, charge me for it. And then the server says, okay. So what would you say? Where to inject, where to tamper this protocol to get some vulnerabilities?
I would try to call the methods out of order. So try to release my print queue command before giving it the password and see what happens.
Okay. No, the authentication was needed to do these communicates. It is one TCP connection. It's not like HTTP different requests. It's just in one TCP connection. Anybody? Okay, so like mostly people say that they would inject, for example, try to break this hash and try to authenticate as another user. We tried to do this, but actually after a few days spent on this, we found that the hash algorithm is okay. The token is perfectly random. It's one-time token, and everything here is okay until this moment, because these communicates, you are actually quite right. These are the key communicates in this communication. So I'll show you how does it look on the wire. So on the wire, it was a binary protocol with some clear text, let's say. First, the server, well, the blue ones are from the server. So the server responded if the authentication was okay, and sent some permissions, user permissions. For example, if he can copy in color, or for example, something like this. Of course, later it turned out that there are also vulnerabilities there. But we tried to tamper the communicate from the printer to release the print queue. So the guest XYZ was the username of which was authenticated. And of course, yeah, what we tried to change it to another user, let's say guest ABC. And it worked. So already after authentication, we authenticated as guest XYZ, and then we just get the print queue of guest ABC because there was no authorization check later. So actually, this was not a communicate release my print queue, but it was release print queue for user I typed, and not just copied 100 pages, but charge user I typed for copying 100 pages. So the consequences of this attack were actually, it fully broke all key risks for pool printing solution. We were able to sniff, print other print queues, tamper the accountability, and still use this data. But I say that this was a very positive example. This was our third or fourth case of pool printing solution, and we tried to reach the vendor before the penetration test, and we just asked, hi, we would like to hack you. Do you want to give us the software? And they gave us support service and knowledge base and all versions of the software. After sending them the report, they responded in few hours and patched, and actually they deployed the patch and gave it to their clients because they had many clients in few days. So that's the vendor that we would like to cooperate with. They really looked happy to be pen tested, which mostly in other 5 cases of pool printing solution didn't work. Okay, so the next case study is Slavik.
Okay, so next example is remote desktop protocol. We would say it's some kind of X Windows with added layers of encryption, compression, access control, and so on. It's used mainly for mainframe access, for example, in banks or financial institutions. to graphically display some kind of programs, for example, for foreign exchange or something like that. The vendor states that there's more than 100,000 users around the world, and that they are FIPS 140 certificated. So they are supposed to be, the protocol is supposed to be secure. So let's have a look at it. The first packet sent by the client looks like this. That's the second packet responded to the response of the server. And what follows is basically an SSL. So, of course, we can hack the SSL. We'll get to it later because it was vulnerable too. But any ideas for what can we do about the first two packets? Excuse me?
What happens if you try other values?
Yes, of course. We have tried other values over there. But it turned out that the server didn't took us for serious. I mean, the server didn't respond for anything else than 0101. But if you tried other value as a response from the server to the client, it turned out that the client dropped the SSL and connected in a clear text. So it turned out that this is the protocol version, and the previous version of the protocol did not support SSL. So it's some kind of backwards compatibility of the client, which after receiving this response from the server, connected through the clear text. So of course, a malicious user could do man in the middle of this first two packets, send to the client this modified answer from the server in order to get clear text, almost clear text credentials. So here we have user login and encoded password. So of course, this encoded password is very interesting for us too. So we find out that after entering a longer password, it's the encoded version is also longer. So it's some kind of obfuscation or something like that. So we took, for example, this password, which is encoded in ASCII hex like that, and the hashed version of it looked like that. So it was the same length. Any ideas? What can we do about it? Yes, we can change one letter, and there also changes one letter. Okay. So.
Substitution cipher or even a one-time pad?
Well, could it be the most popular encryption? I mean, crappy encryption method. I mean, XOR. Well, let's have a look. We can XOR these two values. I mean, this is clear text password. This is encoded one. We get something like that, which after decoding this ASCII hex turned out to be a company name which created this wonderful software, which was in fact the key that encrypted this password. So of course we can get a clear text of this password when we know the key. Let's get back to the SSL. In default configuration, the server didn't have any certificates configured. So it couldn't do any of this DSS, RSA, or something like that. He could offer to the client only anonymous cipher suite. So obviously this is vulnerable to the man-in-the-middle attack. And that's the configuration we saw in the real world. But of course it's vulnerable, as you can see. But let's assume that someone properly configured these certificates on the server, and the communication looks like this. Client says, client hello, server responds with proper certificate. During the first connection, client pop-ups a question, do you accept the certificate? You can check, for example, MD5 of a fingerprint. That during the following connections, the client can verify if the certificate is still the same, and if there's some kind of man-in-the-middle attack, it can send an alert. So, any ideas? What can we do about this protocol? How can we hack it? Excuse me? Previous certificate.
So it doesn't seem to revalidate every time.
Yes, it does valid. Well, let's assume that this configuration was during the first connection. The certificate was configured in secret, proper network, and nobody could tamper this first communications. And on the following connections, it checks if the certificate stored during the first connection is the same. So you can't do this kind of the man-in-the-middle attack. But how about, do you remember this? What if we changed the server answer so that it answers something like that? We would expect that the client would drop this connection because the client has the certificate already stored. But unfortunately, client does accept this connection, forgets that it has already configured certificate, and happily connects to the server. So we can do, by downgrading this protocol, we could do man in the middle and send to the client the anonymous software suite. The communication with this vendor didn't go very well. So after initially setting a secure communication channel, which wasn't very obvious for them, it didn't go very well. I mean, we sent a few emails that if they need any help, do they plan to solve this in a timeline? We would like to help them. Maybe we need some help. Well, we felt a little bit ignored. So after a few months, we decided to go full disclosure, our favorite. Unfortunately, the vendor didn't react to that. I'm not sure how it affects the FRIPS 140 certification, but it's still not repaired. A few weeks later, they closed the full disclosure. I guess that's just a coincidence. Let's go to another example.
Yeah, okay. Okay, let's go back to the full printing. More cool examples of full printing solutions. Well, actually, I didn't know how much cool was the full printing solutions topic, but until it got accepted into every conference I sent the paper for. So the second vendor states on his website that it is a modern printing solution that safeguards document confidentiality and unauthorized access to print, scan, copy, and email functions. And it provides airtight security. So yeah, we love it. When someone says airtight security, again, I take out my laptop. So some more corporate blabbling from the vendor. He states that the documents are delivered only into the right hands. The information is kept confidential. There is no risk. Well, everything is safe anytime and anywhere, and the workflow is kept secure. So we would like to challenge these claims and and check the binary protocol. So on the first look on the communication, we saw that it is TCP using 2 connections on 2 ports. There was no clear text. There was some encryption inside, but it seemed to follow some scheme, and I would like to show you this scheme. So again, let's first make some quantitative analysis of the traffic. So first there were some free communicates, the server, printer, and the server, some kind of hello. Then a lot of encrypted small packets. After this, a huge load of data from the server. Anything? Do you know what is it? Files, yeah. So, but they were encrypted. So now the real analysis of the inside communication. So the first communicate was always 263 bytes, and it was constant. So some kind of hello message. It looked like that, whereas there is some new server crypt, so probably there is some encryption inside. A lot of null byte padding, that's not interesting. Then this communicate was the most interesting. It contained some null byte beginning, 96 bytes. Then I will call it variable x bytes, I will explain later, and null byte padding. So we were able to configure this solution, and in the admin panel it was possible to change the encryption. And you can choose between RSA 512 bits, RSA 1K, and RSA 2K. So this is an example of RSA 512 bits. And as you can see, this is 64 bytes, so that makes 500. So what is it? Yeah, the public key of, and actually in this case, the printer sends its public key. So yeah, we thought that it was a certificate, just like in SSL. Then we thought that it would be a public key, but actually that's only 512 bits. So it actually turned out that it is a modulus number of the public key. And this is the only information about the key. So the server responded with always different 64 bytes. So what should it be? Good. Yeah, the session key for the encryption, for the symmetric encryption inside. Okay, many identical blocks in this huge load of data. What is it? I've got a picture. Okay, maybe you recognize this Linux Penguin. This is a bitmap of Linux Penguin. So what happens if you encrypt bitmap with ECB mode of encryption, electronic codebook? That's it. And that's the same what happens with the print files, because the printed files are the PostScript job files, which are basically text files. So it's extractable. Maybe it's not very easy, but it's possible to decrypt just the files on sniffing the traffic. Okay, so we had to make some assumptions for the proof of concept script. So if it was an SSL, it should be a hello, then a hello certificate, a session key, PostScript, ECB mode encrypted files, yeah, and that's it. So after, yeah, it took us quite a lot of time to disassemble this protocol to set the proper parameters for the encryption. It turned out that there is a hard-coded RSA certificate in the printer embedded software, private key, private certificate. The server contains no trustor. In this case, the client is the printer, so the server should have a trustor of acceptable certificates, but there was no. EAES 128 ECB mode of encryption used for traffic inside. So this is really not a good idea for print jobs. And we found the same protocol in admin interface, which actually the interfaces, the user and the printer and the admin interface were not separated. So we could do a man-in-the-middle attack also on the admin interface. The consequences of this attack, again, the same. All key risks are broken. But the most funny part, actually tiring, very tiring for us, was contacting with the vendor. He responded that, sorry, Many of the devices do not have the CPU power that allows a fast login response and at the same time establish a high security level. So this is the problem that the pull printing vendors face. They face the problem to choose between high security level and the fast login response, and they choose the fast login response. And they stated that changing ECB to CBC mode of encryption will be more CPU intensive and may cause slower performance, which the customers are very reluctant to see implemented. And we tried to convince them that the printers' processors are single-threaded. And on a single-threaded processor, you actually do not see the real difference between ECB and CBC mode of encryption in case of speed. Because ECB mode is faster, yeah, because it can be paralleled. And with no parallel computing, CBC is as fast as ECB, maybe like 5% slower. They tried to convince us that they are secure because the system has been deployed at many high security customers and has passed internal audits. So yeah, they passed because their penetration testing company was actually not very good. Okay, that's for the pull printing. Now, Slavik and
Okay.
Forex trading software.
Another example is an online application for instant financial operations. It turned out that these operations are so quick that they had to design a binary protocol because HTTP was not fast enough. So they encrypted it in SSL tunnel, a single TCP connection. The SSL was properly configured, so we looked into the packets after decrypting, but they didn't look very much readable. So we looked further and further. Well, here we can see some kind of information. I guess that's maybe stock quotations. But we looked further to the packets, and there's some clear text coming, until finally we saw something like that, which was particularly interesting. Let's have a look at it in ASCII mode. What could it be? Excuse me?
Is that a SOAP remote procedure call?
Yes, exactly. It's encoded in this binary protocol, the SOAP. So here we have, for example, probably the path. Here we have probably the method. And here we have an answer from the server. So, of course, we tried to interrupt it somehow. It took a while to decompose the binary protocol and to wrap properly these values. But we were able to do something like that, for example. Apparently, the Axis admin wasn't properly configured on this server, so we tried other brute forcing other methods, and we found register user method. So after invoking this method, server responded incorrect login. So any ideas? Well, we thought that we don't have proper authentication. We need, for example, login and password. But it turned out that we didn't provide the parameter to the method, which was the login of the user to create. So after providing this parameter, the server responded incorrect password. So of course we added another parameter, which was the password. The server responded incorrect first name, and then a group with name now doesn't exist. So what would you try? A group with admin. So it didn't work. Any other ideas? Administrator didn't work. User, no, it didn't work. Sorry. Excuse me? Root. Yes, exactly. We have sent them this message with the root group, and the server responded like that. Of course, we tried to authenticate to that user, and it turned out that we can manage all the other accounts of the whole system. It was, in fact, a system which hundreds of thousands of users, which dealt with billions of dollars, and we could, in this single packet, we could create administrative user without even having without even being a client of the system. So that's what I like in this job. After dealing with this subject almost 10 years, I still find this job very absorbing. So, and that's just because of the emotions it gives during such hacking. So the vendor couldn't understand how we did it. They were sure that someone had misconfigured this firewall, so we could directly invoke these SOAP methods. They couldn't believe that we could decode the binary protocol. So, of course, there were many other problems, not just this application there, but there were no separations of administrative and internal web service calls, and two excessive error messages returned by the server. So without that, we couldn't hack it, black box at least.
Okay, so now some few cheat sheets. I think we are quite out of time. When should we end? Maybe. Okay, so if you deploy a proprietary network protocol, if you're an owner of such solution, remember to get it pen tested by a good company to verify the vendor claims. And you have to ask, like, for the secure development lifecycle, how do they handle vulnerabilities? How did they handle any vulnerabilities that existed before, and so on? Look for the CVE lists and so on, the previous bugs. And for the developers, remember that protocol is not secure by its secrecy. It doesn't work, like security by obscurity, mostly. Remember to use a proper encryption, and try to avoid writing your own cryptography. It doesn't work and probably will mess it up. Use known standards. Maybe SSL contains heartbleed, but still it gets fixed in few hours, not just like your software. So remember about input validation, the access control inside the protocol, because these are this is the most popular vulnerability in proprietary network protocols we test, the access control inside the protocol. Use many layers of security as much as possible. Network layer security, VLANs, SSL 802.1x, and so on and so on. The least privilege principle is like the most important. And beware the backwards compatibility, like in these remote desktop protocols. Okay, Slawomir, turn.
So about the hacking of these protocols, there's no simple answer how to do that. Because there are many ways to do it, and the proper answer would be that depends. Because during the penetration testing, you usually have very limited time, and you just have to choose the right path, which is the shortest path to your aim. Of course, for the beginning, we could try to understand this protocol to find its, I don't know, its internal structure, its syntax, and so on. So we could try to get some documentation. It sometimes works. You can search for this documentation on, for example, developers API or something like that. We found internal protocol specification just by Google hacking. Of course, you can try to decompile the client or instrumentate the client. There are tools for that, but they have some shortcuts too. sometimes decompiling of the client is very easy. For example, not obfuscated Android application, we were able to get to this MD5 I was talking about in this Android source, but sometimes it's very hard and time-consuming, so it may not be the shortest path. So you could try to analyze this network. There are tools for that. They look very promising and great, but we didn't manage to use them in a limited time. I mean, they are great, for example, for academic research and scientific analysis of the protocol, but they didn't help us a lot. We just tried to spot some scheme of the packets, of course with a little help of other tools, and used our favorite scripting languages. So we created a small cheat sheet which we will, I hope, in a few days upload to the OWASP website about testing proprietary protocols, and it will be available on the OWASP website. So thank you for your attention, and any questions? Yes, well, we didn't have to because the SSL was properly configured, so we did upload our own certificate to the client so that we could do man in the middle and attack the internals of the protocol on the server side. Watch how this internal protocol looks and so on.
Thanks a lot. Do you have any experience attacking network protocols designed using Google protocol buffers?
Yeah, well,
And if you found any problems, is that due to protocol buffers or just because they used it software?
well, I've been doing some kind of small research in that topic, but with no obvious vulnerabilities.
So obvious vulnerabilities. So a lot of the talk, you didn't really attack any of the protocol parsing. You didn't, on the description, you didn't try and do any fuzzing and try and do anything along the way.
Yeah, well, fuzzing. Well, did some fuzzing, like tampering the parameters is actually the fuzzing, I would say. But yeah, well, we didn't pass the Google protocol buffer. Okay, any other questions? Nope. Okay, thank you.
Znaczy? No. Tak. A wcześniejsze połączenie? No już wróciliśmy, albo co, no przecież tak sobie nie weźmiemy. Ja chcę dzisiaj wrócić do Krakowa. Możesz znaleźć połączenie nam teraz?